Hi, we're back with another intern spotlight. I'm Lexi. I'm one of the science communication interns.
I am Kat. I am also a science communication intern, and we are here today with Ishant Mishra. Hi, Ishant.
Like,
He is one of our 2026 career interns on the Cloud On-Ramp team, supporting Earthscope's cloud-based geophysical research initiative. So he's currently a PhD candidate at the University of Texas at Dallas, where his research focuses on using INSAR to study slow slip events at the Cascadia subduction zone. So welcome!
hey,
Yeah, and so just to kind of start us off, Shant, we were wondering if you could tell us just a little bit about yourself, your path to where you're at UT Dallas, and how it's going there.
yeah, sure. So, yeah, I'm Ishan, and currently I'm doing my PhD in geoscience at UT Dallas. So, for my research, I use INSAR to study slow slip events in the Cascadia subduction zone. And my path towards this journey has not been like a direct path to INSAR. So, for my undergrad and my master's, I did civil and structural engineering. And during my master's, I did research on using remote sensing for detecting damages in buildings. So, that's how I first got into remote sensing. And then after doing my master's, I worked for some time in a company that manufactured their own SAR satellites, launched it into space, and then did remote sensing using their own data. So that was my first introduction to SAR satellites. And I liked SAR satellites and working in that industry so much that I felt like, okay, I want to learn about this more because this is so interesting and this is likely the future of like how remote sensing will be. And then I started looking for PhD programs where I could gain a little bit more technical experience in SAR and in SAR in general. And that's when I found out that my advisor at UT Dallas was looking for a grad student, and I reached out to her, like we spoke, and yeah, here I am now doing research and using INSAR.
That's awesome. And so you spent some time in industry, and now you're kind of back in the academic world. What's that transition been like for you, like being a student again?
Uh, it's it's been a little bit challenging because like I have not been in school for like almost 5 years now. So like, I thought I was over the whole thing of like assignments and deadlines, like academic deadlines and stuff. But it's like in a way it's fun as well because like I spent some time in the industry. I got some like practical experience on using SAR data and so on, but not a lot of like technical depth. During my PhD, I can learn about things a little bit more deeper technically, and I can connect the experience I had during my time in industry. Like I worked on this data, so this is the science behind it. This is how it works. So it's been fun in that way where I can connect my experience with whatever I'm learning in school and my research. So overall, I would say I am glad that I spent some time in industry before starting my PhD program because that makes me able to connect the things I learned in school with things I did in work.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And after your PhD, are you planning to return to industry? Do you have an idea?
Mhm. I've not made like a final decision yet, but as of now, I'm a little bit more inclined towards going back to industry because I had really fun working like in my previous job, and that's what inspired me to go back to school and gain a little bit more technical experience and technical knowledge so that someday I can go back and do the same thing, but with more background knowledge and more understanding of how things work. So yeah, I'd love to go back to industry and work with remote sensing data again. But I'm also open to like academia if the right opportunity opens up after graduating.
Yeah, that makes sense. I
Mhm.
didn't know that. I mean, I guess I'm wondering how big of a thing in industry is remote sensing and SAR. In my mind, before this, it was kind of more of just like an academic thing. But so, are there a lot of potential companies you'd go back and work for, or is it kind of the one that you were previously working for is the one in the industry that you'd be interested in returning to?
So when I was working in this company, it was still a startup. So it was in Japan, and like we had just two companies that manufactured their own SAR satellites in Japan at that time. So I felt that during that time there was not a lot of companies manufacturing SAR satellites and doing remote sensing and overall, but I feel like there are a few companies that do that now, and I feel like this will increase in the future. So yeah, I think like once I graduate, I'd like to work in a similar company, if not the same company, but I'm also open to just going back to the same old job that I did before my
Yeah.
PhD.
Yeah, if you liked it, why not go back, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So could you tell us a little bit more about the work that you're doing this summer as part of your
Mhm.
internship?
Yeah, so this summer I'm working as a cloud on-ramp intern. So Earthscope recently launched a product called GeoLab last month in June. So GeoLab is a platform where users can just create an Earthscope account and log in, and then they can use cloud computing facilities like Compute Facility from Earthscope. And this compute facility, like this GeoLab, it runs adjacent to the place where Earthscope stores the data. So in a way, it's very fast because like you don't have to log into some server where Earthscope data is, download the data and work on your own local computer. So this is the platform that I'll be working on this summer. And to be more specific, I'm working on creating some instructional Jupyter notebooks for accessing Earthscope's geodetic data like GNSS. And I'm also helping with creating documentation for GeoLab, like some part of the documentation which can help users get started with GeoLab more easily and just breaking the barrier for someone who wants to transition from doing everything on their local machine or on HPCs to the cloud. So in a nutshell, yeah, that's what I'll be working on this summer.
And I know a lot of different things, not just science things, are moving onto the cloud. Is most of the benefit just the speed? Like, why now cloud things? Why are we moving in that direction?
So I like, in my opinion, it's not just the speed, it's computation power as well. So say you have to do some like computationally intensive calculation and say you need like 30 GB of RAM or like even more hard drive space, and say like your local computer does not have that capacity. So if you're working on the cloud, you just need a computer with a web browser, then you can log into the cloud and just do everything there. So that's another advantage. You don't need to own the machine. And GeoLab is free, so like that takes away the cost from you. And they have a very generous quota, like generous compute quota and storage quota that renews every month. So I think there's benefit in that aspect as well, in addition to like just being close to the data so that everything is very fast. And I think, in my opinion, the geophysics industry, like specifically SAR and other remote sensing data, they are already operating in the cloud. And I personally feel like cloud is the future.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems like it almost kind of evens the playing field. Anyone can kind of get in at the ground level and access the data and process the data without
Yeah,
having to invest
exactly.
really a lot of money and time
Mhm.
into like computational strength. So
Mhm.
that's really great. Would you say that you're applying skills from working or from grad school or from, even just your coursework to this internship, or do you think it's more the other way around, like something you'll bring back home, or?
I would say it's a little bit of both.
Mm.
So like working with the cloud is what I learned during my time in the industry. So we use cloud computing for our work, and that's what first got me into cloud. And then like in my school, I learned a little bit more about like geodetic data, like GNSS workflows and so on. And that's like that part of the knowledge that I learned in school that it's what I'm bringing to the internship. And in this internship, I'm learning a lot of things about like actually working with raw GNSS data, because for my research, I mostly use like process time series data. But here we're working on a format that's very close to RINEX, like the raw GNSS data, not exactly RINEX, but it's very close. So I feel like the things I'm learning here to work with those raw data and learning how to like generate a time series from them, or just like getting different information from that data, I can then take back into my research when I go back to school after the summer and like take my research forward. So I would say it's a little bit of both. And the cloud computing part as well. I had some very basic knowledge about cloud, but in this internship, I'm learning a little bit more detailed information, like learning to do new things, like creating my own image using Docker or something like that, which I've never done before. And I feel like those are the kind of skills I can take back to school and even like later into industry after I graduate.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Have you had any unexpected or expected, challenges or highlights so far? I know we're, you know, not too far into the summer yet, but
Mhm. Yeah, the The first thing I would say is like working with the raw GNSS data, like I mentioned before, because prior to this, I had just worked with displacement time series, which was like processed by EarthScope. I use EarthScope data for my research, but just the process part. But here I'm getting to see a side of GNSS data that's way more than just the process time series. I didn't know there were like these many extra applications of GNSS data. Like there's so much one can do with raw GNSS data. And it seems like this displacement time series that I was using, that's really a tiny, tiny part of it. So that has been really eye-opening and really interesting for me. And it was a bit challenging as well in the beginning to work with, but now that I'm starting to learn a little bit more about it and getting the hang of it, it's it's fun. It's been fun.
Sweet. So switching gears a little bit, just kind of outside of, the world of INSAR, the world of cloud, your PhD work, do you have any hobbies or interests, or like what do you like to do in your free time?
In my free time, I like spending time outdoors. So, like, my wife and I, we camp a lot. We used to camp a lot, actually. Like, before coming to the US, we haven't been able to do that so much in the US, but we love camping a lot. And here, like, in our free time in the US, we like hiking. So, we go out on hikes, like, at least once a month, somewhere
Nice.
close by. And yeah,
Are there good
that's
spots
what I
near
like.
Dallas?
So, like, I spend most of my holidays in San Diego, so I know hiking spots in San Diego.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a favorite spot here, which is really close to where we live. It's called Torrey Pines, and it's a short,
Oh
like
yeah.
2 to 3 miles hike, and we really love going there at least once a
Nice.
month.
Do you have any advice for students who are not sure if they want to go into academia or industry, or if they're just trying to see what's out there?
My first advice would be try doing an internship because, like, if you don't have experience working in the industry, doing an internship is as close as you can get to working in the industry. So when you're in school, you get to experience the academia side of things because you're in school. But if you do an internship, you get real world experience of how it would be like to work in an industry. So then after doing an internship, you get a clearer idea, and that can help you decide whether you want to go in industry or academia. And one more thing I'd like to add is like, if you decide to go to industry after graduating, that's not the end of the world. Like I went to industry, I worked for 5 years, I wanted to come back to academia to get a PhD, and I came back. So like there's that path as well where you go to one direction and then later change your direction. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Yeah, I think sometimes people pick a track and they think they like have to stick to that track, but things can be flexible. Like just open yourself up to opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. Okay, well then thank you so much, Ashant, for coming and talking to us. We really appreciate it. And thank you to everyone for watching.
And thank you for your time.